Alan's got it.
Alan, got one job, Alan. Thanks, Alan.
So yes, really excited to be here. Thank you everyone for coming. The support has been absolutely fantastic, and I'm going to throw it to George. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. No, first of all, I want to say big thanks to the team at Birchall. It's been wonderful for them to host and to put on a great performance, getting us everything together today. It was a huge effort, so could we please give them a big round of applause to the team at Birchall. And a huge thank you to our team of Beck Brightson and Nat and Mel and Claire, who run our social media, marketing, advertising, getting all our documents together. I know it all looks sort of finicky and so on, but it is a huge amount of work, which when you're trying to run a business and passengers are ringing you and drivers are trying to onboard, it's like trying to run a shop and sell the shop and promote the shop at the same time. So if we could give them a huge round of applause as well, that would be wonderful. So Venus has done an amazing job, and obviously our own staff have been extraordinary. So to get here, to sort of fall over the finish line, to get us onto this website legally, in so many ways I always think this is a simple business. It's about women picking up other women and doing it legally. It shouldn't be that hard, right? That's all we want to do. And yet, we have a lot of things to be compliant with, and we try to do things in a way that makes people feel really comfortable. Comfort is what we are selling. And we want to share that with people and invite people to be a part of that with us. And do so in a way that makes money, but we are a mission-driven business. That is the thing that sets us apart. And it's what got me starting this journey. And I hate the word journey. I really have tried so many times to think of another word, but it has been a journey. It's had crocodiles and mountains and slippery bits, and anyway, it's been a journey, and I've been so motivated by our driving crew here in their Sheba merchandise, which they have made themselves, designed themselves, distributed themselves. I mean, that is something that I would never have envisaged when I started this. And I met with Heather. Could you just wave? Heather Moores. I'm talking to you, lady. Just give us a hand. Just give us a wave. So when I started the app, I met with Heather, wonderful Heather, who told me what should be in an app and what shouldn't be in an app. And Heather you've been doing, yeah.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, maybe you shouldn't be driving anymore, Heather. Maybe. Maybe your days are numbered, Dale. We'll do it. No. But remember, you were driving with another little startup called Uber. I don't know what their chances are like. They've got a couple of drivers. But remember, we had a few driver meetups, and Tanya Farrow there, and Jude, some of our original core members. And I had decided that I wanted to be a driver for Uber. I felt unsafe, and then I just started putting these things on Facebook saying, do you want to meet with me? And we met at a few cafes and bars, and we designed what we thought would be good functions. And then I put all the money from the sale of my family home into this idea and had a couple of Valium, and anyway, it was all fine. And then it all went, and here we are now. But, you know, the ideas, and Amanda here as well, helped me with the legals, and I started with MailChimp and my phone and just getting it off the ground with a handful of drivers. And we grew organically, and then people started to write to us saying, are you even real? Women wrote to us from Korea, from Japan, from Malaysia, saying, is it really a thing where you could get in a car and drive with another woman? And that is one of the most exhilarating and one of the saddest things that you can imagine. But we can, and we did. We can, and we do, and we're allowed to do it. And the world hasn't stopped. And Neil Mitchell berated me on radio several times. And I said, Neil, if you can tell me how men are one bit less safe because Sheba exists, I will shut the app down tomorrow. And I heard a fair bit of gum flapping, but he couldn't come up with one.
No, he couldn't.
And we're here today because, yes, I started it, and I'm pretty extraordinary. Like, let's face it. No, but because other people backed it in, and I started with a GoFundMe page with a terrible name, Mum's Taxi, and all my friends in marketing, and said that name is the shittest name ever. What were you thinking? I had a brain aneurysm. Some of them thought I had sustained some sort of ongoing issues, but I came up with the name Sheba, literally in a dream, which is very biblical, but it's true. And the original disruptor, the woman who went to challenge the wisdom of King Solomon, and I love her because she is in all the texts. She's in the Judeo-Christian texts, she is in the Islamic texts, and you know, she travelled on her own to challenge wisdom. She is the original disruptor. And even though the Bible's a bit on the nose at the moment, we can look past that. And I think we can say there are some iconic figures, and I think we can say that there are people who inspire us, and she inspired me, and our drivers inspire us, and to share this offering with the women who built us and the passengers who stayed with us when we had 6 trips a day, and then 60, and then 160, and then 260, and then 360, and then looking at the things we can do when this money comes in, when we can take all those girls who have a disability, who have a 90% chance of being sexually assaulted, when we can do those B2B partnerships with the NAB, with the ANZ, with these corporates, with the schools. We are the only people who can get access to the childcare centres. When we're doing the foster care runs, when we're working with Anglicare, when we're working with all these people, the not-for-profits and with the corporate sector who want to just use Sheba. But we need innovation, we need tech, and then we need to tell the whole world about it. We need 2 levers, tech and marketing, and they cost money. And today we are getting that money. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Heather. Thank you to Colette.
George.
Thank you to everyone. I just want to give all my drivers the hugest thanks, and all my staff, Kate, Richard, Brendan is not here. So typical, probably off. Anyway, no. Really, I just want to thank everyone who's worked so hard to pull this together every single day. You are amazing. This job is not easy. It's a new product on the market. There is nothing like it. It is a world first, and you know, there's nothing else that we can compare it to. So I risked my whole house. I don't expect you to do that. And if you are going to, do seek independent financial advice. But I know we're on a winner, because the day we launched our app with no marketing at all, it trended in the App Store for 2 solid days. And the people who built our app were saying, what are you doing? I told you to shut up. We can't build. I was like, we said nothing. But when people are saying, is this even real? You got to be saying, there's a need. So this is even real. I was an English teacher. And thank you so much. So I'm going to hand you over to Hayden now for... Oh, did you want to speak?
I'm happy to speak.
Hayden, Dave. Didn't you get the extensive briefing notes?
No, not at all. I didn't even get the memo.
Didn't
But,
you?
No.
That's
no,
because there was no memo. You have
speak
to talk
without
into
that.
that, because otherwise people will miss your gold.
My gold.
Your golden
Okay.
words that drop like...
Well, George said she was unaccustomed to speaking. I'm actually unprepared to speak.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They're beautiful. They seem nice.
Look, I've been associated with Sheba for almost a year now.
Oh, no.
It was April last year.
Yes.
And when I heard about it and was watching that Compass program, I'm actually probably going to cry, you do realise. You didn't cry, and I'm probably going to be
I'm a hardened old...
the male in the room who cries. But I've got 3 children, 2 daughters, and I watched that Compass program and I saw what you were doing and I was blown away. And when I first met George, a couple of weeks later, when I sort of figured out how to get a hold of you, I didn't even realise that this was a company based here in Melbourne. When I first heard about it, I thought, who was the right person who thought of that sitting in Silicon Valley somewhere? And when I said that to George, I got the... but I mean, truly, it's an amazing concept. And you have to appreciate, I've spent 25 years in the finance industry, 18 years of that as an investment banker. I ended up being a partner at Goldman Sachs. I know my way around finance reasonably well, and I know my way around investment reasonably well. There are very few times when you come across a business and a concept that's so compelling and does so much social good. It is just marvellous to be associated with that. One of the proudest deals I ever did was a company called Cochlear. I don't know if you've heard of the Bionic ear. Back in December 1996, we listed that on the stock exchange at $2.50. Cochlear today trades around $200, up from $2.50. And
not that we're in it for the money, so mission based.
I actually do put Sheba into a similar category. If you think about the social good that a company can do, if you just think about how compelling it is that 10% of taxi drivers, so 10% of Uber drivers are women and 4% of Uber drivers are women. Now, the nature of driving is perfect for a female employment base. It's very flexible. Women do tend to be the primary caregivers. They do tend to spend more time with home duties. They do tend to have a little bit more spare time, and I know that can be...
It's not spare.
Yeah, it's not spare. So,
and we are better drivers.
And no, you're right, it's not spare. There's a lot of emotional labour that women do tend to spend in the family, and it's unrecognised and unpaid for. But it's the perfect type of job for a lot of women at a lot of stages of their lives. You know, I've got a sister-in-law who's got 2 young children. She drops them off at childcare. She's got a few hours spare in the middle of the day. She is taking time off work, and she would love to drive for Sheba. Right? It's the perfect job for her. And it just appeals to, I think, a female audience in so many different ways. And so it's very rare that you come across, from an investment perspective, an opportunity to solve a social problem in a multitude of ways. Right? We're solving a social problem for drivers, and we're solving a social problem for passengers. And the brilliant thing about that is that the passengers and the drivers are solving the problem together, and they're solving the problem for each other. All Sheba is doing is facilitating that.
That's true.
And because it's so compelling, you see the results in the numbers. We have had 8% month-on-month growth over the last 12 months, on average. There have been some months which have gone down slightly, and you get that, with school holidays, but there have been some months which have been 20% growth plus.
28% growth in September.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So
This must have been I was driving.
I don't know. We can't.
It was. I can't hide it.
I don't know if we have we probably can't change what's on the screen here, but I do encourage you to read the offer document, which has been published. It's published at 3:30 today, and in the last 3 hours we've got over $110,000, literally in the space of 3 hours, which is astonishing. But in that offer document you'll see a chart, and the chart is like that. Okay? And it's from March 2017 when we launched.
Yeah.
And you'll see the trend now, obviously, and I'll say the legal sort of get out of jail card free, which is, historic performance is not necessarily the perfect indicator of future performance.
It's going to be much better. Am I allowed to say that?
No, but
Suddenly women are not going to feel scared going out at night anymore. Yeah. Sorry, that's the future. No, sorry, I'm being...
Look, I'm going to wrap up anyway, but I would encourage you to invest. I personally have invested. Invested
your
a fair
house
bit.
yet.
Not my
I'm waiting
house.
for
Not
that
my
to
house. It feels like my house, but not my house. We launched the expressions of interest round a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah. And in that short space of time, to a reasonably limited audience, we have over about 2,500.
You hit the
3,000 people.
David.
Yep.
Where's David Anstey hiding?
No, gone.
He's gone.
Was it 2,500?
2,500.
2,500.
We have 95%
Women.
of our respondents were women, which is an historical event.
And if you have
Bill
a
Lady
sister,
Mama.
a daughter, a mother, an aunt, I'd really encourage you to get them on board, to get them invested, get them believing, get them involved, because as many women that we can get involved, the better. Just going back to some numbers again though, the 2,500 or the 3,000 people that we've got expressions of interest, it's between about 3 and 6 million. I think it's 2.8 and 5.9 million that they've indicated interest. We're only looking for 1 to 3 million. Okay, so we're very, very confident that we'll have a very successful raising. But we want to get a broad church of people. We want as many women as possible involved. So please, if you can get onto the website and put your details in and subscribe and do it early so we can build momentum. And thank you everyone for coming here tonight. It's a wonderful thing in and of itself.
It is. It's a fantastic thing. It's a really hot night. It's a Friday night and concrete floors hard on your little feet. Little footsies. But yeah, thanks so much for coming out in force tonight, and for so many of our drivers to come out tonight too. It's a busy night and this is earning time, and I know I really appreciate you putting that aside. And can we get a few photos together as well? Jude, I know how you like a photo. One of our shyest drivers, but I can also encourage you as well. We're one of the very few companies, transparency is one of our biggest things. We have come under attack from this by a very charming group called the Patriarchy, who wanted to bring us down. Great guys. Really charming. I really want to meet them one day. Through our review system and our rating system, and we allow reviews to go on our website, and we're one of the very few companies that does that. And if you go there, if you're not sure about how people feel about our service, the people who write to us and say I was able to take a full-time job because Sheba filled that gap between 3:30 and 5:30. So many women have been able to gain meaningful employment and a promotion because their children can be picked up at 3:30, work always finishes at 5:30, school always finishes at 3:30. It's almost like these things weren't thought through. Anyhow, it really helps for women to get financial, a foothold, a promotion somewhere in her life if someone can pick up their kids for them and take them home. 12-year-old kids do not like aftercare. I don't know if you know that about them. They do not. So, but they are ready to be taken home from school by somebody else and to play with the dog and hang out and make themselves a piece of toast. And that's what we can do. And that's the sort of stuff we want to do. So that is the thing that helps that woman get herself a promotion. So in terms of contributing to the economy, when women can stay, play, work, go to the movies, be at the theatre, be out, having fun, we are making a huge contribution in all sorts of ways, not just for drivers, not just for passengers, but for women who need to work longer, proper hours, almost like a bloke. So thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you being here. This is about front seat freedom for everybody. So thank you so much.
Just before you disappear,
Sheba Leavers. Do you want a photo with me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, no.
Let's see if we've got any questions first.
Oh, questions.
I'm going to throw out to the Sheba leavers and see if anyone had any questions for George.
Yeah, he just said I can finish at 3:30 from now on.
Meet Richard King. He answers the phones at Sheba. He's brilliant, amongst other things. He's extraordinary. Any other questions?
I'll start.
Yes.
So I have seen a little bit in the media that you're looking at expanding internationally.
Yes.
What is the status? Is that something that's planning to go ahead, or is it still just a bit of a pipe?
No, we are approved to operate in New Zealand, so we have met the government regulations. It's really about setting up, consolidating our markets here. So doing that and then heading up a New Zealand office. So we have met all the requirements to operate lawfully there, and in fact we've met with the TfL in London and spoken to them as well. So that's about employment status and so on too. So there are a few issues there, but our next market would be Malaysia. There's a huge amount of demand from Malaysia. Currently, women in Malaysia are not allowed to travel with men in cars for cultural reasons, and so they're organising their transport through Facebook, and there's a huge fear of kidnapping and so on. So that's a very slow, clunky, public means of providing transport. So that's something that we're really keen to meet demand where it's at. Yeah. Yes.
I've been waiting for this for a long time, to be able to invest in your business, your company, because I think it's such a fantastic initiative. My mum, she's now, nearly 80. She's stressing like crazy about the day when she's losing her licence. We used to refer to her as Mum's Taxi.
Right.
Who's picking us up? Mum's Taxi.
All right, it's a good name. She can have it. I'll sell her the rights.
What took so long? This is just so exciting.
Look, it's such an interesting thought. I think there was, a lot of interest from private investors, and I think so we go through that traditional path, and this industry of crowd equity raising took a long time, so this only passed through.
October last year was the
Yeah.
earliest that proprietary limited
Where we
companies
could
could
actually
do it.
do it.
Yeah. So,
And to get everything ready takes.
well, we started this conversation with these units in about November. So the legislation, the ink dried on the legislation in October.
Yeah.
We had been thinking of a way, we'd already set aside a part of the company for DriveCo to make our drivers shareholders. That carried issues with it about what to do if a driver didn't want to earn those shares. It had tax implications if they didn't want, So nothing is ever easy. So we had to wait for this to pass. So we did it kind of as fast as we could here. But it had happened in London before that.
But I think you've just been amazingly busy as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a bit of
yeah,
that.
it's just
But income, anyone can
adding
help.
features to the app and growing the
Growing
company.
the business, picking up the dog poo, hanging out the washing, feeding the 4 kids. There's a bit of that. But we had wanted to involve our people and make them part of the journey.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
We will take your $1 million. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. We can talk.
So, George, exactly. So
So, are you actually floating the company, or because I'm still
We
not
can't
exactly
float it,
clear
so-
about what you're calling it shares,
They are
That's
shares.
right.
They are shares.
but in what capacity is it a share?
You have a shareholder like I'm a shareholder.
Yeah.
So crowd equity is different to being a publicly listed company. So these are companies that, well, you might be better off.
Yeah,
explaining.
sure. So it's a share in a proprietary limited company. So you'll own shares, a piece of the company, but there is currently no secondary market for the shares, which you'd be familiar with ASX, where you have a ready market of buyers and sellers that you can sell your shares into. Most of these opportunities, these unlisted opportunities, have been really limited to wholesale and sophisticated investors in the past. But what the crowdfunding laws have done is it allowed companies like Sheba's to be able to make their offers to the general public, including retail investors. There are some safeguards related to the regime. So retail investors can't invest more than $10,000. You also have cooling off rights, 5 days. And the offer is made under a regulated disclosure document. So I encourage everyone to really have a look at the offer document and read it. And if you don't understand it, absolutely seek the financial advice before you make the decision. But this is, I suppose, the privilege and the discipline that needs to be applied to raising funds from the public. But to answer your question, there is no secondary market in the sense that there is ASX. But what owning a share in a company means is that if the company lists in the future or sells to another party, a trade sale, and it increases in value,
I got that, but yeah.
you'll share in the upside. So.
And that's what's capped at 10,000.
The right to.
Oh, okay.
It's capped at 10,000. Unless you're a sophisticated investor, you can't lose $100,000. You know, you can't go and you know. So that's why the minimum bid is $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect to lose, but I'm just saying.
No, you won't, of course. No, but that's why it's
From a client's point of view, I'm just talking.
Absolutely.
So you know, it's the 90% back.
Yeah, so
Is that still
drivers will keep for 6 months. Drivers will get 90% of their fares for 6 months, and we had to separate out the investment from the
Reward.
return, because otherwise it looks like it's an inducement to say this is a fail-safe investment, which we're not allowed to do.
I was just going to say, in most proprietary limited companies, there is a restriction on who you can sell your shares back to should you need to retire the shares.
And that does not exist here.
Right.
So ordinarily a proprietary limited company has a maximum of 50 shareholders.
Yes.
But the legislation that came in October meant that if you launch a crowdfunding capital raising through a registered crowdfunder like Virtual, then you don't have the limit of 50, and anyone who buys your shares, they don't have transfer restrictions. So if you bought $100 worth or $10,000 worth,
Probably
you could sell them to probably 10,000. Yeah.
I'm a pension person. I'm 70.
Okay, 9,000. Then you can sell them to your neighbour, your daughter.
Oh, right. So I still have
some.
the right, because you said there's no secondary market.
Sorry, just a rider on that.
Well,
not within the first 12 months.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
it's not like the stock exchange where you can walk in and go buy, sell, and do all that
yeah.
stuff. You know how they do it.
I should also say this is a brand new regime, and there are a lot of liquidity for securities in these unlisted investments is a question that comes up often. There are many people that are working on solutions to fix this problem. We're working on one ourselves. But it is very early days for the regime. We're trying to do the primary issues of securities first, and then we'll kind of worry about people wanting to get out of their investments later down the track. But I suspect in a couple of years' time, if people do want to get out, what we're seeing in the market is there will be options, organised options for people to sell the shares if they need to.
So if a minimum investment is $100,
$100.
is that $1,000 a multiple of 10 shares, or how does that?
So the
Oh
share
no, the
price.
shares are $1.
Yeah,
The share price is $1, and you buy $100, and the maximum is $10,000 unless you're a sophisticated investor, in which case you can leave your card with me, and we can take you out for maybe even a Rivita with you never know. So yeah, it's you know, this is a speculative, this is the first of, this doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. So, you know, it is a mission-based business, but that's why read the offer document. We have to put in the risk warnings. You must seek independent financial advice. We can joke around, but, you know, it is your money, Ralph. Remember that ad? You have to think about it, you have to think it through and make your investment accordingly, but all you know.
What I'd say in a nutshell is a share is a share, so any share that you buy is the same as the share that George
They're my
owns or
shares.
me or any of the
Yeah.
existing investors. It is illiquid for the moment, so it's not like buying and selling shares on the stock exchange. So don't go and invest $10,000 if you think you're going to need $10,000 next month to pay bills or for whatever else. Only invest what you think you're capable of and what you think you won't need access to in terms of cash for a period of time.
Yeah.
Just be sensible about that.
We're not about making anyone uncomfortable. We're trying, that's why we offer women free financial advice when they become drivers. It's not to try and hoodwink, blindside. We don't surge. We don't like nasty surprises. Yeah.
What do you think your biggest risk is to business?
Well, it's in the offer doc. Look, nothing is risk-free, you know. I suppose, you know, things can happen.
Maybe I
Yeah.
can answer.
Thinking
Yeah.
like, you know, Uber saying we're going to do Uber for girls.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
people often say that they've had that option for a long time.
Competition is not a risk.
No.
Like I've been in a couple of businesses, and competition is not the risk. The risk involves is a drunk driver, someone feeding a kid a peanut. You know, that's what real risks are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not failing to train your drivers on safety. But go on,
Yeah.
Hayden. What
Yeah,
were
so
you?
I was just going to mention that when Uber came out, the taxi industry was up in arms. If you have a look at what's happened in the taxi industry since Uber has launched, the number of rides has gone up. What's happened is the value of the taxi licence has gone through the floor. So taxi drivers themselves are actually doing really well. It's the owner of the licences that are really complaining. And I mention that because you often find this situation in markets and with disruption where a disruptor comes in and they actually grow the market. So if an Uber was to start an Uber Girls, then there is the possibility that it actually grows the market and actually benefits us. Okay? And because we have the brand name and we have the trust and we're very much building that.
And it's all we ever start.
Yeah.
I think they'd look like an afterthought. I think.
But also culturally, I mean, you know, Uber breaks the law. That's how they go into markets, right? We don't. Okay?
They never have.
It's not in the culture of us to do that type of thing. Because what we've got here as a product is all about trust. And we're very, very guarded about that.
We were going to start in New South Wales, but it took so long to get the exemption from the Attorney General of New South Wales to run an all-women's service that the laws changed in Victoria first. So we ended up launching in Melbourne first, and then Queensland, and then Sydney last of all. So I was never going to put our drivers in a position where they were going to be fined for acting outside the law. It's just not what we do. And I think,
maybe I can just actually answer your question about the biggest risk. So personally, my own view is I don't think that Uber or the entry of a competitor would actually be the major risk. I actually think the major risk is in whether or not we can, or the pace at which we do, onboard drivers.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to solve with this capital raising.
Yeah.
Okay. We have so much demand, we can't meet it. We just need to have the resources to convince women that this is something that they want to do and should do,
And it's fun
and has
to
a lot
do.
of benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to do. I mean, people say, "Oh, why do you keep driving?" I think it's fun. I like it. It's grouse. Amanda, like your drivers here, put your hand up. Anyone want to say what it's like being a driver? You enjoy being a driver?
I enjoy getting the kids home from school.
Carrie loves the
I
baby.
love driving the drunk mums about 1, 2 a.m. Because there are some passengers here and it's so lovely. Because, you know, they'll get in the car and they'll just talk about the night they've had and they can just relax. And then you can probably set your watch by it, can't you, girls, that, you know, within about 15 minutes of being in the car, they'll talk about their night and then they'll talk about who's got netball in the morning, you know, am I going to be too hungover to make the kids lunch for whatever. So it's so nice that, you know, we can support families in so many ways. We can drive kids, we can drive mums, we can drive families to and from the airport. And it's such a pleasure to be able to support women and children and families. So yeah, I mean, I'm probably a bit biased, but yeah.
Having girls young out there as well is not safe, so it's good that we're out there in the night, especially at night, so they go out to parties.
Yes, there's a
So
minute.
just talking about on that more demand than supply, so
Yes.
here's the challenge really.
Yeah.
So that starts the marketplace, driver acquisition, that's the key. And at the moment, how's that excess demand translating into long wait times or sorry,
No,
the
it depends
actual
where you
number of
are.
people
So in Melbourne, the wait time is now 8 minutes, so that's pretty good.
It's actually on par with Uber. Uber
Yeah.
might say it's 3, but guess, you know what it is
It's not.
by the time it arrives, right?
Anyway, I'm 7 years, I know what I'm doing, I know my schedule, I know my week, so I don't wait 8 minutes, they're on time.
So you're an advance booker, and that has some upsides and downsides for our drivers. So some of them are missing they're missing trips doing an advance booking. So we'd like to build some of the tech in so that you can take trips all the way to an advance booking that lands you right on your advance booking on the second. Make a minimum fare for a school pickup. Because again, some of our school pickups, there's a huge demand for school pickups, but they're minimum fare jobs, you know, and you're losing an hour for what is a $10 fare. It's not economically viable for drivers. Or some other pooling system, which isn't like Uber pool, but actually the driver's comfortable with, the parents who are at that kid's school are comfortable with, and it's economically a good fare for the driver. So a $40 fare, they're taking home 4 kids, pay by the head, something. So we need tech solutions. We need funding to build those tech solutions out. So again, they all rely on money. In terms of driver demand, we have spent less than $40,000 on marketing. We've acquired 114,000 passengers and like 2,500 drivers in pending. Some months we have 23,000 drivers hitting our website and we can't convert them because we don't have the manpower in the office to onboard them. So we haven't got a mobile, you know, there's just basic things that we have not had. They just cost money, and where people's trying to compare us with them, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Like $78 billion, we haven't spent $2 million. Are you kidding me? Like, are you trying to compare us to them? And yeah, like I think there's
Even
a bit.
Uber aren't making a profit. They have not made a profit since they started.
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting, isn't it? Interesting though to think
Yeah.
that such a big company and they're not actually making a profit.
Yeah, and we don't want to churn drivers through, and we want to keep paying. We want to keep our drivers for life. We see them as an asset that is, you know, as essential as the app.
Yeah.
We have 2 assets. We have an app and a driver. They're equally valuable.
And just one last thing. So I did pick up. So is there a driver program to invest or like an employee? Yes, or did you try to put one together and it's too difficult? Or and
Yeah,
is there also a side for the passenger side that?
They're partaking in this.
Okay, so essentially it's all through.
Yeah.
So drivers are in the expressions of interest, or there's a separate pot of drivers?
No, they're in the expressions of interest. Yeah.
So Virtual is a hybrid equity and reward platform. So we started from possible. So we've kind of brought our experience from that platform to the new equity scenario, and there are driver rewards and passenger rewards that are being offered in tandem with this thing.
Just one question. You know how drivers get 9%?
Yep.
Now, just wondering, is there a certain amount we have to invest to get?
No,
Is it just
all the
any
same.
amount from 100?
All the same. So you'll end up owning more shares if you put in $10,000, but we want if a driver's just joined us and she's got $100 to invest, she gets the same. We want all our drivers. We don't want the haves and have-nots.
When does it start?
For what?
When does it start?
The minute you put your money in.
Oh, no. So,
sorry.
So
We'll let you know. So that when our
within a couple of months after the close of the
yeah,
offer.
we've got to build it in. We've got to know who's on that database.
Yeah.
But as soon as we can know who's in that database and we'll do that back-end build, it'll become, we'll let you know. And for the passengers as well.
There are some terms in relation to that offer in the subscription agreement. So there's some information in the offer document, and there's a subscription agreement as well, which you'll see during the investment process, and that'll include all the information that's available on that deal and then on that offer, and then
for drivers it's pretty straightforward. Like for passengers it's non-transferable. You can't be a mother of a household with 3 kids and all try and take a 5% discount on every trip sort of thing. But for drivers, if you're the driver and you keep 90% of your fare for 6 months. Yeah.
But if you're a mother and you've got 3 kids,
one person.
Well, if $400 is $100 for each of them.
What?
Well, no, you can invest. Get everyone to make an investment for. That's what I'm going to do. I'm putting money in for both of my daughters.
You're trying to game the system.
Absolutely. I'm a banker. No, I'm going to invest for my 2 daughters. I'm going to invest for my wife.
Probably one more question if there is one.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So Uber's kind of famous for treating their equity like revenue. So, all of these equity rounds and all these truckloads of money going in, and they're kind of treating it like it's just money to spend on marketing. How are you guys going to avoid that trap? Like, it's awesome that you've got to here with this $2 million that you've spent so far, but it's obviously a big challenge to grow to your huge vision. So how, do you see that as one of your challenges to spend that money wisely, or how?
We know the tech things that we need to have.
Yeah.
The tech things.
Yeah.
So just using my very highfalutin language there. No, I think we know the drivers that turn a profit that are lacking in our app now, and I think in a way, it's been really hard to just nickel and dime it all this way through, but the benefit of being such a lean startup to this point is that we are really sure of what the money makers are, and that's because we are so close. Well, I'm a driver, and all, I don't think the CEO of Uber is a driver. I'd be very surprised.
I'd like to be.
No, but I think what it is, you could drive for Uber. I think it would be good, because the more familiar you become with the things that are the shortcuts and the things that are the waste of your time, it's all about time being money, right? And every second you're wasting means that you are crankier at the next trip. It's about service, delivery, passenger return, and keeping the fact that this is about a comfort. You're in a service industry, so how do I maintain a level of service, a smile on my dial, and making money for myself and the company? And if you don't know your app, if you don't know your sector, if you don't know your industry, if you don't know your competitors, if you don't know what your drivers are enduring and putting up with, and what your passengers are feeling, I want all my drivers to experience Sheba on the other end as a passenger. So with that, you know exactly where the money shortfalls are. And of course our tech pipeline goes into wish list. Of course there are things I really want to have, but we can make the most financially beneficial decisions based on the biggest return for our shareholders, and also the needs of our passengers and drivers. It's always a balance. They're not easy decisions. I don't pretend they're easy, but we're pretty clear about where the money can be made for the greatest number. Okay.
All right. Thanks very much.
Right. That's Alan.
Still plenty of drinks around, so feel free to have a drink, mingle, we'll have a chat and please get some advice and then invest early, invest often. So.
Invest early, invest often.
Does that